Spooky feature!
Horror. A word so intrinsically linked to our childhood fears that the blood seems to run colder when you say it. It might seem a strange thing to say now, but scary movies seemed far more terrifying in the 1970s. When I was a kid, we had a video man. The concept feels slightly sinister in itself. This middle-aged salesman with a bushy moustache would lug 2 huge suitcases of VHS tapes into the front room twice a week, my mum scanning the titles for something my dad would like to watch when he got home from work. Invariably, it was a horror movie, something with Nazi zombies or possessed children. Me and my brother never got to see them, but we heard them. In our bunk beds, heads under our pillows trying to block out the screams. I'm sure our imaginations conjured scenes far more horrific than those on the screen. It seems inevitable that games producers would try and cash in on the popularity of horror films, but if I ask you now, what was the first game that scared you, I doubt your mind would instantly reach for an 8-bit title. The first time I encountered fear while playing a video game stretches way back to 1981 and J.K. Gray's 3D monster maze on the humble ZX81. The title is a significant milestone in the history of first-person gaming, and even with its blocky low-res graphics, managed to instill that familiar sense of panic, never knowing whether the monster was around the next corner, waiting to bite my head off. Incredibly, J.K. Gray managed to pull off the same trick on the Spectrum, with the aptly named 3D Tunnel. The last level of the 48K version left you trying to avoid the tube trains heading towards you. Admittedly, it looks pretty pathetic now, but in 1982 it triggered a familiar feeling of dread, the unspoken terror we all share of walking the tracks between underground stations. As is so often the case, the 8-bit games which were supposed to be scary were not. Take the top-down wanderer that is Nightmare on Elm Street. Even when you finally get to face Freddy Krueger himself, all I can see him as is a badly drawn sprite. Friday the 13th by Dumark tells you to turn the lights off and turn up the volume before rewarding you with probably the best synthesised scream the Spectrum ever produced. Sadly, the game is all too familiar, wandering around the town, waiting for something to happen. How about The Evil Dead? Despite having one of the best cover designs of any 8-bit game, it follows a similar path. But as you're confined in a cabin in the woods, there are far less places to go. Hard to believe, but the licence for the all-time most scary horror film of the 1970s went to Commodore. If you think the dungeon-style cover art for Exorcist is poor, wait till you see the Pac-Man style gameplay. On the 3rd of December 1983, horror fans waited until midnight to watch Michael Jackson's incredible Thriller video. Quickly becoming the most popular music video of all time, Mastertronic hastily cashed in with Chiller, turning the epic werewolf zombie short into a simple platform game. The most scary thing about it was the resulting legal action, forcing Mastertronic to withdraw the game, change the soundtrack, then release it again. John George Jones, a coder with a thirst for blood, gave us the closest thing we'd get to gore on the Spectrum. Go to Hell was so disturbing that Activision founded a whole new label to publish it, 666. It's yet another wandering game, but this time through a world filled with torture. Heads being sawn off, faces squished and guillotined. Go to Hell also features the only medieval rack to ever appear in an 8-bit game. Its sequel, Soft and Cuddly, released on the budget Powerhouse label, dished out more of the same, but raised a storm in the press for featuring a graphic depiction of Siamese twins. While it is true to say these games were shocking for their time, they were being outrageous for the sake of it. As much as they wanted to be, neither got anywhere close to being scary. Perhaps it's adventure games which hold the key to horror thrills on 8-bit machines. Text is so reliant on your mind doing all the grunt work, conjuring images the blocky graphics could never come close to. Bloodthirsty Adventures from Rod Pike, Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman and Jack the Ripper added a few gory static screens, aiding their publisher CRL to gain adult 18 restricted ratings for their boxes, a marketing strategy that seemed to work well at the time. Infocom's lurking horror on the Commodore 64 dispensed with graphics entirely, leaving the Lovecraftian text alone to bend and weave your imagination. Its beautiful box made its intentions perfectly clear though. Now, I know, I'm like a broken record, but the scariest 8-bit game I ever played still has to be Forbidden Forest. It has such an intense atmosphere, quite unlike anything else of the time. Oh, no, not the bees. Anything but the bees! As we now know, it would take a few more years for games to get truly terrifying. The likes of Resident Evil and Silent Hill often making me throw down my joypad or walk to another room for a breather. And while it's taken a few decades, modern creators have now shown us how terrifying 8-bit gaming could have been. Surely even the humble Spectrum was capable of a simple Ouija board game. In the style of Mel Croucher's AI simulator ID, a mysterious entity trapped inside the processor spelling out creepy messages. Or how about a Polybius style shooter, rumoured to infect your mind with subliminal thoughts? Was there something I was supposed to do? What have I got this for?